Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Peter Truick and I'm a UK-based physiotherapist. Today we answer the question as old as time. Well, at least as old as Arnold. How do I train as a beginner versus an advanced lifter for putting on size? Well, the quick answer is the exact same with some slight tweaks. And yes, the same muscle building principles apply for both the lads and the ladies. In order to put on muscle, you basically need two things: a stimulus such as resistance training and the amino acids or protein for the body to build the muscle. Diet is mostly overlooked when it comes to how to train, but if you want to maximize your gains, it's important to get the right amount of protein, which is roughly 1.4 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight or 0.6 to 0.9 grams per pound of body weight. You can have more. You often see people talking about that 1.3 gram per pound of body weight mark as a maximum. This is also alright. If you're looking for body recomp, then stay on the higher end, as protein is very satiating. It will keep you full for longer and you'll eat less rubbish as a result. It's also commonly stated that protein has a higher thermic effect and it takes more energy to metabolize than other macronutrients. Right, to the training part. The not so secret is called progressive overload. You need to do the same things and apply the same principles of training whether you're a noob or an experienced gym rat. The thing that differs is not what you do, it is how many you do and how hard you push yourself. Basically, intensity and volume. And yes, you can do it by adding more weight to the bar, but that is not the only way. As a beginner, it's very important to know your goals. Are you training for more muscles for that beach holiday? Are you looking at powerlifting or even weightlifting? Or are you unsure and just want to exercise to better yourself or to improve your mental health? All are valid reasons. Once you start, you can always see which avenues you prefer. Let's look at volume. The evidence shows that between 10 and 20 sets per muscle group per week is required to maximize gains. You should also train each body part between 2 and 3 times per week. This does not mean you have to spend 7 days a week in the gym pumping iron. Firstly, as a beginner, you need to decide on your split. Now you have a golden window or newbie gains where just going to the gym, lifting things up and putting them down again will give you results. If you wish to optimize these results, then go in with a plan. The more common splits are the push-pull legs, the full body split, upper and lower, or the bro split. I can't say which is better. I don't really advise the bro split as you can't get the volume in terms of training each body part twice a week. But then again, your muscles do work together, so technically you can. I would look at how much of a gym rat you want to be. How many days do you want to spend in the gym? If you want to go in 6 days a week, then I would recommend the push-pull legs. If you want to go 4 days a week, then maybe look at the upper body or lower body split. If you have 1 to 3 days a week, then I would recommend a full body split. I will say that when you start, you don't need to train every muscle twice a week. You can start off with 3-day splits on a push-pull legs, if you want to, but this would not be optimum. Just remember, if you start off at the maximum intensity and volume, where do you progress to? One of the most overlooked forms of progressive overload has nothing to do with intensity or volume, or even the weight on the bar. Just get your form right. You can lift the same weight with better form and actually be hitting the targeted muscle harder. This would be the overload you are after for this week. Trust me, if you want to see a heavier squat, bench or even deadlift, get your form right early on with light weights, and when you do progress, you'll be able to lift a lot more. The first plate on the bench press might take a bit longer, but to get from the first to the second should be a lot quicker than someone who doesn't focus on technique. And if you'd like a full tutorial on how to bench press, go check out the video on my channel. If you're worried about looking silly or weak with just the bar, I promise you we all started somewhere. Even world record holders like Eddie Hall started off with just the bar. And also, those people who you think are looking at you are definitely too busy looking at themselves in the mirror to worry about what you're doing. If you watch someone like Sebum, his physique is insane. And if you watch his training videos, he's not using any secret exercise or some magic diet. He's doing the basic movements, including his compound lifts with good technique. And yes, he has got elite level genetics, but that is out of our control. So we can focus on the things that we can control and do those to the best of our ability. I'll always advise beginners and advanced lifters to do the compound movements. These will get you the results that you're after. Ronnie Coleman says people want bigger chests but are too scared to bench press, and he's spot on. For example, an incline bench is going to give you much more bang for your buck than cable flies. Now, onto intensity. Do you need to train to failure? The surprising answer here is no, for both the advanced and the newbie lifters. The evidence shows that an RPE of 8 to 9 per set is advantageous over training to failure. This means that leaving 1 to 2 reps in the tank each set is the best. But let's be real, the problem with this is that if you don't ever train to failure, you won't truly know how many reps you have left in the tank. As a beginner, you don't need to test your failing point, and you definitely don't without any safety racks or a spotter. As an advanced lifter, you can push to failure and gauge what it feels like, and then train to a true RPE 8 to 9. Now for the intermediate or advanced lifter, you can up the intensity by adding partial reps at the end of the set, or by doing pause reps or adding drop sets. A beginner does not need to do any of these things, because if you remember, if you start at the max intensity, where do you progress to? And therein lies the difference. As you get more experienced, you just up the intensity and of course the weight. And yes, once you become a resident in the gym, you can add some pre-workout to complete the transformation into full gym rat, with consent of your doctor of course. Right, so you have your membership and you head in. What next? Well, luckily for you, here's a basic push-pull leg split for you to try. Please remember to warm up appropriately before attempting any of these workouts, and make sure you get your technique assessed so that you don't end up getting injured. Let's take a look at a push day. I recommend starting off with dumbbell flat bench. Once you've built up to your working weight, do 4 sets of between 8 and 12 reps. Not because that's a muscle building sweet spot, but it does allow you to lift a good amount of weight without spending too long in the gym. The dumbbells will be safer for you, and it is always good to work out those imbalances from the get-go. Next, we'll move on to cable flies. Do these on a decline movement by putting the cable to the top of the machine. This will allow you to place more stress on the lower chest fibers, and it also takes a bit of the pressure off of the shoulder stabilizers. Do 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps. From there, as a beginner, I recommend going to an incline bench press machine to target the upper clavicular fibers of the chest. Exactly the same thing for this one. Do 8 to 12 reps and 4 sets. The machine will control the movement, making it a lot easier on the shoulder stabilizers. From there, it's onto the boulder shoulders. Start off with dumbbell lateral raises and do 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps. Remember to keep your shoulder blades squeezed down to stop the traps from taking over. From there, we can go on to seated shoulder press. If you can, do it with the bench flat. It will prevent the bench from restricting your scapular movement. Again, anywhere from 8 to 12 reps, and we'll do 3 sets. Next up are the massive 3-pointers, or the triceps. Starting off, we'll do some cable pushdowns. I bet you can guess the rep range, but for those of you who can't, it's 8 to 12 reps. From there, we'll switch it up and do 4 sets of skull crushers with dumbbells. Make sure when you do this to angle your arms backwards to allow for tension at the top of the rep, as you can see in this demonstration. How many? At this point, I think it's probably better to say that for all the working sets, we'll be doing 8 to 12 reps. Lastly, this one might get some hate, but I suggest you go for a chest-supported dumbbell kickback. Make sure you have a short pause at the top of the rep. You don't need to go into full elbow flexion at the other end of the rep, just go to 90 degrees. There'll be no tension on the triceps at this end anyway. This exercise will have a slightly different strength curve, meaning it will be hardest on lockout due to gravity. Combining this with the tricep pushdown, which has its max tension at mid-range, yes, cables do have strength curves, and they are at their hardest when the movement is 90 degrees to the cable. The skull crushers have a harder mid to stretch portion. Combining these 3 movements will cover the full strength curve of the triceps. Make sure you take every working set 1 to 2 reps from failure, or for you science heads, 8 to 9 RPE. Right, onto a pull day. All sets are to be done in the 8 to 12 rep range at an RPE of 8 to 9. Now, for those of you who don't know what RPE means, it means rate of perceived exertion. And what the 8 to 9 means is how many reps you've got left in the tank. An RPE of maximum or a 10 will mean that you've gone to failure, you can no longer push another rep. Now, an RPE of 8 would mean you've got 2 reps left in the tank, and an RPE of 9 would mean you only have 1 rep left in the tank. So it's exactly the same thing as saying 1 or 2 reps left in the tank. Starting off with the king of the back exercises, you've guessed it, the pull-up. Now, don't worry if you cannot do these, just go onto the lat pull-down machine or do the assisted pull-ups with the machine. I wouldn't recommend using bands, they can work, but you'll progress slower, and I'll explain why in a video dedicated to the pull-up. We'll do 4 sets of pull-ups or lat pull-downs. From there, we'll move on to seated cable row for 4 sets. If you don't have a machine, you can always use a normal cable, place the hook lower down and anchor it with your feet. Next, we'll head over to the cable machine for 4 sets of straight arm scapular pull-downs. Put the cable at the top of the machine and take a rope, or if you can use 2, then go for it. Hinge at the hips, and from there lock your shoulder blades back and down, keeping a fixed arm position, pull the cable down. Make sure you don't straighten your arms if you start with a bend, otherwise this turns into a tricep exercise. For those of you who are good at maths, you'll see we only have 6 sets of shoulders. Well done, you have a sharp eye. I like to program my rear delts on my pull day. For these we'll do 4 sets of cable face pulls with a rope. Make sure you add in external rotation and allow your wrists to move backwards as you pull. If your gym is quiet, keep the 2 ropes from the previous exercise. You can try moving your arms outwards as you pull back and rotate your shoulders backwards, as you can see in this video. Now for the money makers, aka the biceps. We'll start off with one of my favorites, a standing barbell curl for 4 sets. If the bar alone is too heavy, then use one of the lighter bars that most gyms have. At the last bit of the rep, you can allow your elbows to drift forwards, as your biceps do help out slightly with shoulder flexion. But please make sure you do not initiate the rep like this, and try not to sway too much. Make sure you get a full range of movement. From there, onto some seated hammer curls with dumbbells to hit the brachialis, as well as utilize one of the biceps functions of supination. And finally, last but not least, some incline dumbbell curls. Go with a light weight on this one and make sure you don't let your elbows drift forwards. Having your elbows behind your body will allow a greater stretch on the long head of the biceps to build those peaks. Now, onto the legs. Please don't be that gym rat who skips out on leg day. Start off with 4 sets of a squat, and if you aren't confident enough to get under the bar, head over to the leg press. If you'd like a full tutorial on how to squat, let me know down in the comment section below. For squats, please focus on good technique rather than the weight to begin with. From there, we'll go straight into 3 sets of glute bridges. Don't skip the glutes, they are the strongest muscle in the human body, and you'll need them if you want to lift heavier weight one day. Now your legs will be feeling it, and it's time to hit the calves. Hop onto the calf machine for 4 sets. If you're in the UK, for some reason, most gyms don't have one, so you have to be creative. Just go onto the leg press and dangle your heels off the bottom. Really focus on the stretch at the bottom of this rep. You can keep your knees locked out. Yes, I said it. Guess what? Your knees are made to be locked out. If you have hypermobility, then please be careful when locking them out. But for anyone else, it should be fine. Plus, locking your knees out will allow you to get a greater stretch on the outer calf that everyone can see, called the gastrocnemius. The one underneath is called soleus, and this is the official prime mover of the ankle into that range of movement. But let's be real, we all want gastroc to pop. Once gastroc is fatigued, we'll go on to doing the bent knee variant for 3 sets. For this one, you may have a seated calf machine or just stay on the leg press and bend your knees. From there, lock the knee bend so that your quads don't help out and rep out from there. Trust me, you'll feel this one. Now that your upper legs have recovered, we can head over to the hamstring machine. I mean, this one's pretty self-explanatory. Do these single leg for 4 sets. From there, straight on to 4 sets of quad extensions. Again, pretty self-explanatory, but here's a tip. Align the pivot point of the machine with the center of your knee to get rid of any torque imbalances on the knee joint. Do these as a full-on burnout to finish off the session on a high. If you're looking to hit the gym 6 days a week, then you can double up on these exercises. Just for legs, I'd say, on one of the days, swap out the bridges for deadlifts and you'll be good to go. With the rep range of between 8 and 12 with an RPE of between 8 and 9, you can play around with it a bit. For example, if you want to push a bit heavier, then go for the 8 rep range, let's say on the bench press. However, for the next exercise like cable flies, if you want to get a better squeeze and go a bit lighter, then aim for that 12 rep range, but still make sure you're training hard and only leaving 1 to 2 reps in the tank if you want your best results. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that thumbs up button down below. And if you're looking for a more in-depth video on how to structure a full workout, please let me know in the comment section and we can work on a more advanced video for that topic. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope one of these days I can earn that subscription from you. Until then, we'll see you in the next one.